Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Coffee Break. This is Steve Barrett, the editorial director of PR Week, and here with another show. I'm really delighted to be able to welcome Miroslava Gribova to the show, who is Deputy MD of the Ukrainian PR agency, Be It. And Miroslava, it's so good to have you on the show, and thank you for joining us at such a difficult time for your country. Welcome.
Hello. Good morning, I guess, in USA. Nice to meet you, and thank you for having invited me here.
Yeah. Listen, tell us the story of the last few weeks for you. I know you're based in Germany now, but tell us what happened. What was it, 6 to 8 weeks ago, and what has happened to your family, and also what has happened to people at the Be It agency?
Mm-hmm. Well, today is already the 40th day that the war in Ukraine lost, the 40th day actually of Russian invasion into Ukraine. I woke up on the 24th of February early in the morning, like at 5 o'clock, which is quite early for me because I never wake up so early, without any understanding why. I was laying, we had to have a one philosophy open day, the day when we as a group of companies and our agency, Be It agency, were to take part to present during the whole day our cases for the previous year, like marketing, PR, communication campaigns, and so on for the market, and together with our clients. And at 6 o'clock, my client called to me because we were to have a rehearsal that day, a little bit later, and it was also quite weird why she calls. And she told to me, Miroslava, have you heard the news? She lived in the city where the first bombing were coming to, close to Kyiv. And she told me that the war started. So it was like, it is quite difficult to explain what you feel and what you think with such news. And then I woke up my husband and we heard some bombings. You could hear that quite good.
And this is in Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine?
Yes, yeah. In Kyiv. I couldn't say that it was in Kyiv itself, but you could hear it very well.
Yeah.
You could hear it. And it all was like a surrealistic movie. I do remember myself doing something, preparing some breakfast for my daughter, because we definitely needed to have some breakfast or something. And the pots were falling from my hands. My mind was thinking that the pot is in my hands, but it somehow fell. It was all like you are watching a surrealistic movie, or you are watching the movie.
Like it wasn't
from
real.
The side, yes, yeah, from the side. Yeah. It was quite difficult. What we did then we had some chatting with our colleagues. For sure, no one was going to go to the office. Everyone was considering what to do. We decided with the husband, as nothing is like certain in the moment. I think that the main thought everyone had was it cannot be so. So it's not truth. They're not serious. They're not going to do that. They are just wanting to raise some fear or something else. No one believed seriously that there will be such a war in the center, in the middle of Europe, in the city, in Kyiv. So it was quite difficult to believe into it, actually. And right now I'm talking to you, I'm talking better. My English is even better than right now, but I'm recollecting my memories, and I get a bit nervous about that, anxious and frustrated, probably.
That's totally understandable, yeah.
Yes, and so we stayed both with my family. We stayed in Kyiv for 3 days, and the situation went worse and worse as sirens was louder and louder and faster, quicker and quicker. And so at some moment we decided that we need to escape from Kyiv, because everyone was media and US intelligence and British intelligence. They were sending the messages that Kyiv is already the aim of the attack for sure. And so we escaped from Kyiv to some village in Kyiv district, not far from Kyiv. We stayed there for a week. My husband decided that he wants us to live the country for safer place. My sister lives in Germany, so we had an option, and we flew to Germany. And as far as my colleagues, we all have different situation. Some of them moved to the Western Ukraine. Some of them also went abroad if they had some relatives or some other options. Some of colleagues...
Give us an idea, Miroslava, of how big the agency was and how many people we're talking about here.
Yeah, actually, we're a Ukrainian communication agency, and we are over 40 people, but we are part of one philosophy group of companies who was founded by Natalia Popovich, probably you know her. And we are 5 agencies within the group and 65 people. Yes.
So different types of agency doing different disciplines. You know,
like... Yes, different disciplines, but all disciplines are about communication. We don't have media placement agency or something. All the agencies are of different focus on communications. Yes, and some colleagues decided to stay in Kyiv. Yeah, sorry.
Is everybody based in Kyiv? Was everybody based, or did you have other?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, everyone was based in Kyiv. Of course, due to COVID, we were working a lot like distant, in distant format.
Yeah.
But anyway, the agency was located in Kyiv. Most of the people located in Kyiv, and we are from different regions. Of people who moved to Kyiv some time ago for study or for work or for something, and some of the colleagues decided to stay in Kyiv, and we have already 3 to 4, maybe 5 colleagues who are staying in Kyiv even now. Some of the colleagues had, and they still have families in Kharkiv and Mariupol, and they were totally overwhelmed by helping, but finding ways to help the people, to find the ways to help their families who were experiencing the severe bombings.
You and your daughter were able to make it to Germany, but your husband is still in Kyiv?
Yes, it took us 3 days to get from Kyiv region to the boundary of Ukraine, which is quite long for normal time. And the husband, as far as there is a war situation in Ukraine, and he cannot leave the country because of legislation, and also he doesn't want to do it on his own as well, because if everyone leaves, who will defend the country? So he's definitely not in the position to do that. He's not in military forces, like the front line who are facing the Russian troops in the first place, but we have such a military divisions which are located in different cities, and they are called like territorial defense groups. These are mostly volunteers and the people who had some previous experience, military experience. They gather into troops. They are controlled and managed by the government. It's not a chaos. It is like the process, but yeah.
We heard from President Zelensky last night at the Grammys. We're talking on Monday morning, and he was asking the international community to do everything they could to help. What would you like to see the international business community doing? Obviously, there were some initial embargoes. Lots of companies have pulled out of Russia. What else would you now like to see the international community and the business community doing to help the situation in Ukraine?
In terms of international community and business community, we all in Ukraine would like the companies to withdraw their business from Ukraine, or sorry, not from Ukraine, but from Russia, in order not to pay the taxes, not to support the war actions aimed at Ukraine. This is like obvious, and we fear that when a little bit the slightest movement from Russia telling about the peace or something else happens, if it ever happens, that the business will stop their sanctions and will go back. We don't believe that Russia wants to stop, because yesterday and today I've read a lot of Russian materials, the publications which they produce in Russia, and they are writing that all this massacre which took place in Bucha and Irpin, which are satellite cities to Kiev, and where a lot of young people lived actually before the war, that these actions were done not by Russians but Ukrainian forces somehow, although there are witnesses and there are like Sputnik photos from Sputniks, from satellites, showing that these massive graves have been done earlier than Ukrainian army comes to this city. This is one reason. And the second, today I read the article on RBK Russia, which is their informational agency, very popular one. I guess it is a governmentally owned agency in Russia. And there was a quite, I don't know, terrible article saying that Ukrainians are all nationalists and there is no way for Russia than entering Ukraine and killing Ukrainians, not only the leaders of the state, but the population. And it is terrifying.
So there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation, and it's important for the real story to be told. And
yes, but their position, it means that unfortunately we do all believe that the peace comes to our land. We really do. But unfortunately, the messages which we can read in Russian, because we can read in Russian a lot, because we know this language, because we used to live in USSR where the Russian was the dominant language. And we Ukrainians more or less know this language better or worse. But we can read it, and it is very terrifying because they are saying the messages, they are zombieing their 140 million population to come to Ukraine. My relatives, from my mother's relatives, they live in Krasodarsky Krai in Russia. This is the south of Russia, close to Sochi. And her younger brother, he called to her to say that we all are Nazis and he's going to kill us. It was her younger brother.
So he believes.
Yes, I don't know what they did to the population, but it is quite terrifying.
We are seeing some protests within Russia from people who are against the war as well. Are you aware of those protests in Ukraine? Are those images coming through? And do you think that will grow?
Yes, I understand what you're asking. We don't believe that it will grow because it looks like a lot of people have relatives in Russia, in Ukraine, and everyone is saying the same, what I has told to you. And a couple of people who are coming to squares, it won't help the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us about President Zelensky. How do you feel about him and the way he has been communicating to the Ukrainian people, but also to the international community? He seems to have a great way of being a leader and a communicator for your country and your people.
Mm-hmm. For us in Ukraine, I think that we have opened him from another side of his personality, because it isn't a secret that he has quite a little experience in political life. He used to be a businessman, an artist, an actor, not artist, but actor, an actor for a lot of years. And there are different opinions on his presidential actions and life during the couple of previous years. But now we see that his rhetorics changed with the war coming into Ukraine. And we see that not only the rhetoric that you cannot say what you don't believe in, It is in communications, and we usually say to our clients first actions and then words. And now it looks like he's walking the talk.
So he stepped up in the crisis.
Yes, so he do believes in what he's saying. He is a patriot. He unites around him a good group of professionals ruling all different processes in such a difficult time.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now, you, Be It agency, had a campaign shortlisted in the PR Week Global Awards, and I know you felt very strongly that you still wanted that work to be part of the competition. We did come and talk to you about it to make sure that you were okay with it staying in the competition, but you felt strongly that you wanted it to. Just tell us why you feel so strongly about that, and just briefly tell us about the work.
Last year we had a very successful and very interesting and very useful for Ukraine campaign with our client McDonald's. We helped them to launch the sorting of packaging in their restaurants. Probably nobody knows, or not so many people know that in Ukraine we don't have
Recycling.
Yes, the cycling. We don't have the recycling processes put in place. As in the whole country. There were some initiatives, but they were lacking some support or some trust from people. We were aiming to make the sorting in Ukraine successful. And McDonald's had a lot of resources. I mean, they are the loved brand in Ukraine. People trust McDonald's. They have very good penetration in Ukraine with over 100 restaurants before the war. No one knows which will be after the war, but before the war there were more than 100 restaurants. And they decided to change the business processes, and they decided to introduce the packaging sorting within their restaurants. And so it was quite a not easy process to tell Ukrainians why they need to sort, as they never sorted before that, or they don't believe in that. So we developed a campaign as the first way we communicated to employees. We write a song about sorting. The song went viral among employees of McDonald's. And then we went to the external communication with another set of communication materials.
Yeah, so great work, and tell us why you still wanted it to be featured in the competition and why that's important to you.
Well, first, we don't understand why would we withdraw our application as far as we're already there. Yeah, we're still alive, we're working. As an agency, we experienced a very difficult couple of weeks in the beginning of the war, but now all the team is settled somehow in a safe places, more or less. We have all access to internet. We are open to the work. We are working actually. So we have not for all clients. We have work right now because the situation is difficult. But anyway, we're working. We are engaged in volunteering projects, and we want to do some great work.
Yeah.
And Ukrainians, I know that Ukraine is not a very well-known country, or it hasn't been very well-known country before the war, because no matter that Ukraine has 40 million population, for a long, it was somewhere between Europe and Russia, and no one knows what Ukraine actually is. But we have a rich culture. We have great talented people, which are very well educated, which do creative work, very creative work, which deserve the best in their job. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great to hear that you're still able to do your work and that the agency is still functioning. And we wish you well. And the international community is supporting you.
Thank you. And actually, speaking about, if we would come back to the question how the business could help outside from Ukraine, I would say that if you have some tasks, if you have some campaigns or something, please send it to our creative industry, because our agencies, our people, we're talking English, probably even better than I'm talking right now. We're writing, we're very creative. We have a lot of international awards. I mean, marketing, communication, and so on. And you can support our creative industry if you come back to us, to our agencies, to our professionals with your tasks.
Yeah, we will put some contact details in the show notes for this so that people can send messages to you and get in touch. And listen, we will check back with you in a couple of months and hope that this horrible situation can improve. Thank you for taking time to speak to us, Miroslava. Really appreciate it. We hope that you and your family stay safe, and everybody at the agency. And we're hoping for a peaceful resolution to this horrible situation.
Thank you very much, and thank you for your support.